If you ask most 10-year-old boys what dinosaur they would want to be if they could pick, chances are they'd either say a velociraptor or a T-Rex. This is likely because, of the 6 dinosaurs most people know, those are the dangerous, agile, capable hunters and killers, i.e., they're the warriors. But as anyone who's familiar with the whole circle of life thing should be well aware, just because nobody eats you doesn't mean your life is free of problems. And as anyone who's watched more than a few of my videos will have heard ad nauseum by now, there are no solutions, only trade-offs. In nature, there are 4 general categories of animals: predators, prey, scavengers, and parasites. We all already are well acquainted with the last one in this day and age, so I'll not insult your intelligence by dwelling on them. Scavengers feed on targets of opportunity. As a consequence, they need, and thus tend to have, the strongest stomachs and keenest noses out of any of the 4 camps. The predators are generally the smartest, as they need to constantly be one step ahead of not just their predatory peers, but of their potential meals as well in order to stay alive. In short, theirs is a high-risk, high-reward style of living, and as such, they tend to be the least numerous and the shortest-lived out of the 4. Contrarily, the prey are the most numerous, most evolutionarily diverse, owing to their comparatively low standard of performance, and least individually impressive faunal camp. The trade-off to being the predator or the prey is that while as the former, you have the luxury of being able to freely walk around in your domain without fear of getting pounced on from the bushes and having your throat torn out, and as the latter, you can just stroll up and eat the bushes whenever you get hungry. The same is more or less true in human ecosystems, aka civilization. The socioeconomic elites may not have to worry about their casual day-to-day needs, how they're going to afford rent and food next month, etc., like the rest of us. But we also don't have to worry so much about people kidnapping us or our families in order to extort a ransom. Nor do we need to worry about beef from the other apex predators, like politicians looking to score some cheap political brownie points by offering our blood as a sacrificial offering, or from nosy scavenging lawyers and bureaucrats looking to steal our kills or feast on our own felled carcass. In short, the advantage of being at the top of the food chain is that you get access to more of the system's free energy. But the trade-off is that you make more enemies and you have a higher burden of performance, at least when the system is healthy, but that's another rant for another time. Now, here's the point I'm driving towards. Have you noticed something strange about how, or rather which, animals are depicted in what roles in our popular media? Think about almost every animal protagonist you've ever seen, especially ones aimed at young children. Which of the above 4 types do they tend to belong to most commonly? Usually the prey items, right? And on the rare occasion that they're not, they never show them hunting or eating, do they? Why? Because the writers know, even if only subconsciously, that the audience wouldn't be as inclined to empathize with a creature that made a regular habit of stalking and killing other animals who did nothing to deserve their grisly fates. But now think about the villains. What kind of animals are they? Usually either the predators or scavengers. Why? Because for most of our evolutionary history, humans sat at between a 2.2 and 2.6 on the trophic scale, with 1 being plants and small animals like rodents that get eaten by everything and which provide/produce the majority of an ecosystem's raw energy and resources, and 5s being the apex predators such as lions, tigers, bears, and wolves, which eat everything and are eaten by nothing, and so are the net consumers of an ecosystem's usable energy and resources. I've said before that capitalism, which colloquially describes the transfers of value between people within an economic ecosystem, is just economic Darwinism. A business dies as surely without regular capital inflow as an animal without steady access to food and water. But the consequence of this is that the majority of us tend to root for the underdogs, the prey, because we know, even if we'll never consciously admit, that we are in the same bucket. And it's why being described as predatory is never a compliment. After all, we have a collective 2 million plus years worth of reasons to dislike people who instigate aggression, who destroy without a constructive cause, who pick on people weaker than themselves, and who wield their strength as a cudgel to extract as much as they possibly can from the system while giving as little value back in exchange as possible. This is why you've never seen a movie or read a book where the politicians or corporate executives are the good guys, as that would come across as disingenuous, if not patently absurd, to the average viewer, since the average corporate CEO is, by definition and necessity, a consummate social, political, and economic vampire who quite literally sustains their position through the perpetuation of human misery, as it is always more profitable to sell a temporary treatment or a worthless placebo than a permanent cure. And yet, despite all the popular condemnation of them and everything they represent in our popular zeitgeist, according to the website Fur Science, the top 5 most popular fursona species, with the exception of hybrids, are the wolf, the fox, the dog, the big cat, and the dragon. Also, according to that same site, between 70 and 80% of furries identify as male. This is relevant because if you were to liken the average man or boy to a fawn, a sheep, a cat, or a mouse, or if you were to so much as insinuate that a woman had something in common with a horse, a dog, or a pig, you'd almost certainly have a fight on your hands. And while, yes, each and all of those do also have their complementary faces under certain contexts, you'll note that being compared to a lion, a tiger, a bear, a wolf, an eagle, or an owl is universally considered a lordly honor, irrespective of gender or context. Why would this be? Why do we so idolize the thing we claim to abhor? Well, it's very simple. Power. It's the same reason as why every kid dresses up as Darth Vader or Darth Maul instead of Obi-Wan or Mace Windu. Apart from their having just the more recognizable character designs, villains are more flexible when wielding their power, which I'll add here for the 1000th time just means the ability to do, than the hero. Sure, the good guys still have great power, that is, they can do things other people can't, but they're still arbitrarily restricted in how they can wield them. Villains aren't. Why? Because villains don't need to care about how others perceive them, only fulfilling their agendas. Sauron doesn't care that the people of Middle-earth hate and fear him. If anything, he uses that as a weapon to further his all-encompassing quest for power and control, just as how politicians feed off of social division to wank their polls, or business leaders prey on your insecurities, or just generic faults in human perceptions through their marketing in order to squeeze that little bit more out of you. If nothing else, this omnipresent contradiction illustrates the truth of the first line of the Sith Code. Peace is a lie. There is only passion. Conflict is the default state of nature, and while most of us say we wish it wasn't so, that's only the case so long as the status quo benefits us, or at the very least isn't actively harmful to our health and/or interests. And therein lies the entire issue in summary. People, specifically men, want the power and greater system value access of the predators, paired with the inconspicuous profile and lower performance burdens of prey animals. To sum up, people want to have their cake and eat it too. I know, try to contain your shock. It doesn't matter how many times Thomas Sowell's proven correct, there will always be those who feel like they're the exception or that rules in general simply don't apply to them. And while, on the one hand, the sorts of people who don't believe in unwinnable situations are the ones who make the world go round, on the other, they're also the source of circa 99.999% of its problems. And no, the poetic irony of that is not lost on me. But anyway, I think that's enough random spew out of me for one day. Tell me what you think. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. Join up as a member for early access to all videos. Go check out my books on Amazon if you want to literally own a piece of my mind. And with all that said and done, until next time, stay safe, stay sane, and remember, anyone selling you a dream is just trying to put you to sleep. Peace be upon you.